find you very rude. The Novympia channel is made possible by our gorgeous patrons who get access to the most unappealing crap you'll find anywhere on the whole internet.
Cue the snafu!
Episode 2. Absolute agony.
Agony?
We're here, we're in the room.
Hello and welcome to the aforementioned second episode of our brand new podcast, Absolute Agony. If you do not know who we are, my name is Nova.
And I'm Olympia. We've been picked up for episode 2.
We got picked up.
Got picked up. One episode. So what?
I was going to say thank you to everybody that tuned in to episode 1. That was all about dating and relationships. We got lots of lovely comments and some good feedback. So we're very excited to continue on this journey.
I think it is going to have to be something that we repeat every single time, that that you can't take any of this in any legal capacity.
No.
This advice is not good.
Well, no, obviously not.
No.
Because we are fools.
We have no credentials.
Just to reiterate, obviously, we are not professionals in any way whatsoever.
Are we professional anything?
If you ever, because sometimes we're going to touch on like slightly heavier subjects, I don't think too much, but like if you're ever really, really struggling, like go and seek help from like actual professionals, like go and get therapy, don't listen to two morons on the internet.
It is a bit of fluff you find under the settee.
But we are going to try and give genuine advice from our own lived experiences as much as we can.
Nova,
and take it as you will.
What makes advice sage advice?
Sage advice.
People say that. I don't know. What does that mean? Nope. Okay.
That's a really good question.
Is that what we're giving? Yeah. That's what we're going to give.
Yeah, we're trying our best.
We are trying our best at something. Are we professional at anything? Just to go back to that. I think that's an interesting point just that we should raise.
We are
amateur drag queens.
Infamously amateur drag queens.
What does it mean to be... Can you be a professional YouTuber? I guess
would say that's what we are.
Well, actually, if it's your profession...
If it's your full-time profession, you're a professional.
You're a professional. I am a professional.
Yeah.
We are professional bullshit artists.
Yes.
As you will find out in this one.
This episode is all about problems people have sent to us regarding their jobs or the workplace.
In the office, etc., etc. I feel quite galvanised as a result of the response to the first episode. I think people generally thought we said some good shit.
Yeah.
Not bad.
We heard back from a few people.
A few of you reached out and said, yeah, I followed up on that, and with varying degrees of success.
Well, the ones that I saw were positive, so that's good.
That's lovely. I don't know, I worry one day that we give some advice that is just such cack that they end up in jail, these people.
Well, don't do that.
Okay. So as we're talking about office, workplace related issues of the day, are there any workplace grievances that you'd like to raise? If we pretend this is our monthly HR meeting, what do you get it off your chest now?
Well, last week was really tricky because my computer wasn't working and I was expected to repair that myself, which I did, but it'd be really nice if the company would actually cover the costs of that.
That's an IT related. I mean, you've got to speak to IT about that.
Well, then I'll be speaking to IT about that.
I am, I didn't know if you remember Wendigo Solutions. It was a very short-lived series I did.
Where put this on airplane
you turn that off, please. No, but that's unprofessional. Where she worked at an IT solutions company, didn't she?
Yeah.
I don't think the characters in that had specific departments they were from.
Roles.
I know Linda was her boss. I don't think there was an HR. I'm sure if you were to comb through it, because there was an established canon. I'm sure there would be someone from HR. So I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to play in this scenario.
So in terms of, I think last time when it was dating and relationships, we spoke a little bit about where we're coming from and our experiences with said topic. So I think it makes sense to talk about our background, our work.
I'm sure there's plenty of these that will relate back to something, because we did work in office places, in retail places, places of business.
So
before we became amateur drag queens on the internet.
My first job, I worked in a very large, very busy cafe, and that was doing a bit of everything. That was waiting tables, that was cleaning, that was preparing food. That was actually once or twice, chefing in the kitchen, only for breakfasts. But they also had a hot plate. So that was an all-encompassing. That was my first crash course into customer service, food and hygiene. Those basic skills for customer-facing jobs.
First of all, I would have appreciated you asking me about my workplace grievances, but we can put that on the back burner just for now. My main point is that, the catering could probably be a bit better. The craft services sometimes sucks here. When you were waiting, did you write orders down on a bit of paper?
Yes.
Sometimes people don't do that, and that is probably a skill.
We had those pads where it was
pads.
like the blue paper that prints. So you get two
take
copies
one off.
of it. So one of them goes onto the table number, and the other one goes with you into the kitchen.
Okay, on the table number.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Did you
Because
have
there were
little,
so many tables, so we had to have table numbers.
Yeah, and then you worked in a Costa Coffee.
Yes, that was my next
Stressful.
job for a few years.
Stressful.
Yes, it was stressful. I could see how that could actually be a really nice job if you had a really great staff. But
When
it's
does that
one of
ever
those
happen?
things where the staff turnover is so high because it's a lot of young people, it's a lot of students who come and go. And it's not paid very well. So the staff turnover is quite high. But I could see how in the right store with the right people, that could actually be a fun job. And I
would
got
never
barista
work.
trained.
Work out that way. Well, how has that ever helped you?
Well, it's just like
All it makes
useful.
you do is complain about every single coffee you get. You moan about it. Or it's not the way I would have made it.
It is a curse.
Difficult to impress generally.
And then after Costa, I got an apprenticeship with hairdressing.
That's helped you because you cut my hair.
So I got level 2 MVQ was 2 years of training, and then I stayed on for a level 3 MVQ, which is another 2 years training. And
This is your life, Nova. Let's.
well, I'm just trying to say, like, I've got lots of
Punch it up.
lots of different things. I never went to university,
No, you didn't. That's evident.
and now balanced hairdressing with YouTubing for a while, and then went full time with YouTubing.
And now
during
you do
COVID.
that with me, don't you? You and I.
What about yourself?
I trained. So I went to university and studied television production. So I trained in camera operating and editing, and just had a very brief foray into the TV industry and absolutely hated it. I worked at the Olympics. I was a camera operator assistant at the Olympics. That sounds really fancy, but it was the judo event whereby the cameras are locked off. There's no movement required on those cameras at all. So an assistant
free money.
has to do nothing, absolutely nothing. There was a great cheese buffet at lunch.
Oh,
Really fine assortment of cheeses.
some Pierre
Pierre
d'Anglois.
Couldn't say that. I've always been able to say it. And then, I moved here because I met you, didn't I? Lovely. Those were dark times. And I worked retail for a long time. How long was I? I don't even know how long. 7 years? Maybe not that long.
It might have been,
And became a manager. And so I've had a lot of experience in dealing with the general public.
Neither of us ever had office jobs.
I had a stint at Channel 4, which was in an office.
Oh, okay.
So I have worked in an office a little bit, but I think we've had enough interaction with. I'm hoping a lot of these questions are like jobs that we've done, which is not really much. But we'll see.
These questions are. Well, we'll get into them anyway. Are you ready for the first?
Do you want to do it?
Should do? Yeah.
Who's
okay.
ready for some sage advice?
Okay, our first Leonard.
Do you know, this is the first Leonard. I had a corset on for far too long the other day, and it's like made my back really itchy.
Oh.
What's that about? Let's talk about that. I need some advice. Anyone? You can moisturise me later.
Rubbing.
Let's have the...
I'm quite uncomfortable in this seat, I have to say. You know these chair cushions?
Do you know these chair cushions? I looked them up. You can't buy them.
Also,
The shit.
not very comfortable.
They slide around.
They're
We bought
lumpy.
chair seat covers from TK Maxx. And they're sort of Halloween themed. Obviously, if you've seen our content before, you'll know we buy Halloween shit all year round. Love it.
But they're very lumpy.
They slide around. They're hella lumpy. And we only could find 4 of them. We've got 6 chairs around this table. And so we've been trying to find 2 more. Can you find them? Can you buggery bum? I looked online. They're sold out everywhere.
Anyway.
We should have bought those other white ones. The first Leonard, please. Let's have her in.
Hello, girls. Love the new podcast. More content from you is always a blessing, and getting a few glimpses in your personal life, your history together, and your thoughts behind the drag personas is always interesting.
It's nice. Thanks, Leonard.
My question is, as a hobby costume designer and tiny content creator on Instagram and Twitch, I always fantasize how and when it is the perfect time to reduce or quit your day job and go full-on content creator. I am still far away from having enough followers, and I love my job and feel very privileged to work in the arts and culture organising events. But sometimes it gets hard to have regular Twitch streams and working on elaborate LARP costumes just on the side. Any advice on how to slowly and reasonably transition a full-time content creator, and how did you gorgeous girls do it? All the best from Germany. Hugs and kisses. P.S. Olympia. There's a message here in German.
First of all, Leonard, what should we call? Well, Heidi, probably.
Heidi, okay.
Heidi, Puing Fabrik. P.S. Olympia, dein Deutsch klingt so fantastisch. Du solltest es öfter sprechen.
Does that mean your German is good?
I think it means your German sounds so fantastic. You should speak it more. You should speak it more. Well, either that's a lovely compliment, or it's proven the point that I can't, in fact, read German, and you're saying something bad.
I feel like this is a very interesting question, one that we can speak directly on, because we have done it.
We have done it.
I think we were in a privileged position where there were two of us.
That's the main thing that we cannot, understate how lucky we were to have two of us doing it. That's something that doesn't go over our head. First of all, the fact that we can do this at all is we're so unbelievably lucky.
Yeah.
It's, I don't ever take that for granted.
That's not to say we haven't worked hard to be here, but luck plays a huge part in it.
A huge part in it.
Part.
You can work
and it's not fair. But...
ass off for years and years and get nowhere. Let's be quite frank. We wouldn't be here had we not done that stupid furniture video.
Yeah.
My idea.
Okay.
That doesn't matter, does it? Because we're a team. We're a team. But despite having that video, which was, allowed us to get a dip into, selling licensing stuff and getting a multi-channel network deal. And
it still took us several years before...
to go full-time.
Yeah.
To go full-time. And that's really the bottom line is you will want to throw in the towel all the time. But if you throw in the towel, there's a 100% chance you will never be able to do it full time. So it is not stopping.
A juggling act. It is a balancing act, but you have to start budgeting and doing sums to get to a point where you can take a day off from your day job to put back into your side gig.
Yeah.
And it has to be cost effective. So if you can get it's going to take a lot of hard work, but if you can get to a point where your Instagram, your Twitch streaming, actually, you could take away a day of your day job, do it. Because that extra 24 hours, reinvesting that time back into what you want to be doing is going to be amazing. And just keep knocking back the days.
It's a catch-22, isn't it? Because you don't have the income coming from your side hustle, the thing that you want to do, because you are not putting the hours in. But you can't put the hours in until you create time in your schedule to do that. So,
unfortunately, with the cost of living crisis, in this day and age, if you have a stable employment, that does have to take priority.
Yep.
It just does. You've got to be sensible. But like I said, if you can put in the extra time and extra work into the costuming, into the Twitch, with the idea that you can get it to a place where actually you can take a day off from your day job, start working towards part-time, start shifting where you're splitting yourself between the two. That's the way to do it, just gradually, I believe.
Try and streamline the hobby as well. Not the hobby, the hustle, the thing that you want to do, the Twitch and the costuming and stuff. If there are ways of making that easier on yourself, because essentially you have to do that stuff during your own downtime. So the less you want to do it, the more kind of effort it's kind of a think smarter or work smarter, not work harder thing. So if there's some stuff you can make, or there's some sort of a Twitch stream that you can sort of shove in if you have a couple of hours and just play something really relaxing or really calming, and try and think of ways to make that more appealing to do. But if you think about when we did it, it was horrible for a long time, for years. Because if we had a day off, it was, right, we have to get into drag on this day and film because there's no other day. Then if we had another day off, if it was like a weekend, that day was then the edit day. So you've lost your weekend. And there were times when we tried... because trying to keep a routine is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
People, and this was never more apparent than during like lockdown, when people would ask us for advice and they would say, I want to start like a YouTube channel, or I want to do this. And the number one thing I've always said, and I will always say, is that if you plan on starting something, actually consider whether or not you are going to do it or not. Because if you start something and then after a couple of weeks it's dead in the water, and we're all guilty of doing it, you try and pick up where you sort of left off. If you're going to have like a hiatus or something.
You can't.
But people
Not at
burn
that
out.
stage. You
People
can't.
just burn out.
You need to build up momentum and keep it going. That's the only way you're going to get to the point where actually this can be a full-time thing.
And the other thing is people start doing stuff like that and expect to pull in numbers immediately. Which is, unless you're like a Brittany Broski or someone who's had like a massive hit overnight. It
can happen, but even then, I think it's dangerous. These content creators and influencers who throw everything into being an influencer on the back of one or two viral posts, because your audience has no loyalty to you. So it's a big risk, because you don't know if you can carry on creating that content.
Is there any longevity?
You don't know if people are still going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be a flash in the pan. It's a massive risk. So I do think, although it took us several years to get to this point, I do think we did it in a way that it's now safe. Touch wood. Do you know what I mean?
we're sort of lucky in a certain sense and cursed in another sense, because the content we make, there's sort of the continuing thread, the consistent kind of element of what we do is drag, obviously, that it's stupid, and hopefully there's some like funny elements to it.
And we have each other.
And do we, Nova?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
But I think
I wanted that.
That's a good niche, but it's also a privilege, because you went full-time before I did, because you were more miserable in your day job.
So miserable!
And we weren't at the stage yet where we could both pack in our day jobs. That was not feasible. But we had a conversation, like one of us can, and it wasn't really a long conversation. It was like, okay, well, you're the more skilled editor, you're the fastest, so it makes sense. It made sense.
Yeah, also you didn't like what you were doing, but at least, you didn't hate it that much.
No, I never hated it.
I was utterly miserable. And one day I was like, look, this is something we've been talking about that might happen in a few years in terms of when we would be able to take the plunge and stuff. So we're doing this a bit premature. But I was like, listen, again, if I am only able to do one thing whilst working in this job, then that's probably why the numbers are sort of doing so mediocre. If I have all the time in the world, I can start this podcast that I was talking about, like we put together this Patreon, and that's when it started to snowball. So it was a bit of a gamble, because I mean money was real tight for like a couple of years, wasn't it? It was pretty grim. But then again, that was the privilege of you having a job where it was like, all right, well, you're fine, like we will be okay.
Yeah.
And it was a gamble, but the most important thing is that we just never stopped doing it.
No.
You can't get rid of us, honestly.
We've taken like weeks out here and there, but we've never taken like a hiatus on content creation.
Never longer than like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. Maybe
in fact, I don't even know
the tops. We've never done longer than that.
When we've ever taken 2 weeks. I don't know when the last time was, because we'd probably have something lined up. So there was never really a chance for anyone to be like, oh, they weren't really that into it, or it was just a phase, or whatever, because it's like we cannot stop doing it.
But this is, I would say, gradually you need to try and readjust how you're splitting your time between the two. Gradually do your sums, budget, have a look at your bills, have a look at your income. Where can you squeeze more money out of this Twitch, out of the costume designing? Do you maybe start a Patreon? All these different things. Could you put some designs on like Redbubble, I'm told, are horrible to deal with, but like a T-mill or like a shop or something. Could you sell prints? Like, what avenues are available to you where you can get extra low effort income out of that to support the things that you really, really want to do?
Multiple sources of income trickling in is that can really build up to the point where maybe you can just take a day off, and then it starts to kind of go from there.
Because that's how I left hairdressing. It was after COVID. I went back because I always worked 5 days a week, and then I went back doing 4 days a week. And then I was going to cut back to 3, and then I thought there's not really any point. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah, and then we can really just go at it.
Yeah,
go at that shit, and we did.
It is hard. It is so doable. You can so do this. It's just a matter of being self-disciplined.
It's
Don't try to rush it, because you have to keep a roof over your head. You have to still be able to pay your bills. And ultimately, at the start, your day job has to take priority. It just does. You've got to look
it sounds
after that.
like Heidi Leonard is being, cautious, because this is something you're obviously thinking about, but you don't want to actually do it unless you know that there is something more substantial there. Unfortunately, I don't know, does it say how long Heidi Leonard has been doing it for? Or has been working towards this?
No, it doesn't say that.
It takes time. It takes a long time. It still irks me. I mean, it doesn't really happen so much anymore, because I think people now see the legitimacy in doing something that sort of like what we do. But when people would kind of write off being someone who earns their money through like social media or YouTube as just being like, well, anyone can just do that. Job. Anyone can do that. Or anyone can just sit in front of a camera. It's not. It's fucking difficult.
And then in lockdown, all of a sudden, everyone tried become a content
And how many
creator.
people who? I mean, bless him. There was
We'll name no names.
We'll name no names, but there was a queen in Bournemouth who asked me and was just like, "Oh, I'm thinking of starting a YouTube channel, and I just really want to know, sort of, I'm going to do this so seriously, and this is the plan, and everything." And I mean, very sweetly, we're like, "Oh, are we stepping on toes or anything?" And we were just like, "Well, first of all, we don't own YouTube. Do whatever you like. Wish them all the best. Lovely."
Yeah.
And the first video didn't come out for like 5 months, and I was like, I had said to them, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, don't tease people. Don't put together a poster. Don't advertise something. If you have no intention of doing it, you need to be so disciplined.
I don't know the quality of the online content you're making in terms of like how professional your Twitch streams are and all the rest of it, but don't aim to be the same as like fucking Mr. Beast level production straight away. Just get content out there. Don't hold yourself back by thinking it has to be the most polished, amazing thing, because you will learn on the job. You will gain an audience that like you for you, and they like what you're doing. It doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. It doesn't have to be most expensive camera, most expensive mic. It's what you're making, and it's you, the person, that is going to gain a following. Because otherwise, if you've got these massive unrealistic aspirations from day one, you're setting yourself up for a fail straight away.
Don't be put out by it. Don't be sort of, jaded or feel really miserable about something didn't work. That one didn't work. The next one might work.
Sure.
Keep going. Just keep doing it. You've got all of our support, Heidi.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If Gordon Ramsay, we're quite into at the moment, aren't we? First of all, sexy. I would love Gordon Ramsay to, sort of be there, really there and present.
Shout in your face.
Shout something. You useless piece of shit. I'd love that. I would be his idiot sandwich. And, sometimes he'll say to these people, and they're trying to put together, haute cuisine, fine dining, and no one comes in. And sometimes he'll just be like, you know what? Just
strip it back.
Keep it simple. What do people want to watch? It doesn't need to have all these bells and whistles. Sometimes people want to throw on a lovely video of you making like a hoop skirt or whatever. Just stick to something that's streamlined but still professional. And you've got all of our support on that one, Heidi. All the best, doll.
Yes, good luck with
that. We believe in you.
Okay, are you ready for another one?
I'm ready for a brand new Leonard.
This one is interesting.
Oh, I don't like the way you said that.
I am not 100% sure. Let's see what you think about this. I thought this was such an interesting one that I had
Hi, Leonard.
Included.
Thanks for writing in.
Hello, girls. In the most recent pod, Nova mentioned you were taking last-minute submissions, and I thought I had missed the bus, so here I am quickly throwing this at you. So this is from a patron, then.
This is from a patron.
So basically, my manager at work is getting too chummy with me. Not in a creepy way, but in the way that he thinks we're friends. We're not. He knows I'm good at my job, I'm a receptionist at a sports stadium, and he has a lot of trust in me and knows I'm reliable. He also lives like a street down from me, and if we're doing late night closes together, he'll give me a ride down to my street because I don't drive, so I don't have to walk in the dark.
I don't like that.
But lately it's been going too far, and he's gone from just letting me get away with shit because he likes me, open brackets, tells me I can take a longer lunch break if I want, doesn't mind if I have to take a day off last minute, etc., close brackets. And now he's trying to banter with me, read insulting me as a joke. I came into work the other day. He was like, "Oh, mate, you look so fucking tired." I wasn't tired. I looked exactly the same as I always do. I think I just had my hair tied up. And then the other day, it was him doing 20 questions with me about why I don't drive, and he kept playfully insinuating I was lazy. I have epilepsy and type 1 diabetes. I legally cannot drive, lol. It's like this all the time now, him making digs at me as a joke between mates. He's like double my age and my boss, lol.
Oh, no.
Anyways, basically, I'm wondering, how the hell would I go about making it clear to him that I ain't laughing without pissing him off because I don't want to lose my job? Thanks, girls.
Thanks, Leonard.
That sounds like an overly familiar, kind of crossing the line boss. And I wasn't sure how I would go about that.
So that boss, to me, you know the sort. Do you know the sort, if you think of a workplace environment, the kind of guy who is given a little bit of authority and they become Billy Big Bollocks?
I think he wants to tell all of his peers in similar positions that he's really down with his staff.
Loves
he's really
it.
friendly with his staff. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, his receptionist.
And the cool boss.
Like, yeah, like, they're really cool.
Like a regular boss, is a cool boss.
Yeah.
But also strikes me as someone who, like, really likes throwing their weight around in like an office environment because it's like I'm the big cheese sort of.
I would always be nervous of superiors who do you favors because they will be claiming those back at some point. They will be asking for favors in return.
That is hella tricky. And I don't. It's so awkward as well. So Leonard said that they want to keep the job. I mean, it's so easy in these situations, isn't it? And it, it's not something that we're going to suggest when it's like, oh, because you just know people will be at home being like, oh God, just leave and get a new job. I mean, that is not
always
an
said,
option.
I don't want to lose my job.
Don't want to lose it. If it's a good job, there's perks and you enjoy it, and
Also, receptionist jobs are really hard to come by.
Jobs are hard to come by in general.
Good receptionists are hard to come by. So it sounds like you're obviously appreciated.
You're good at it, you enjoy it, and you just like the job. Jobs are hard to come by, especially one that you like. That's like gold dust. So that's not going to be an option. So
I think the first thing you need to do is to try to stop relying on these lifts.
Stop accepting the lifts.
That's the first thing.
But hang on a second though, because if Leonard doesn't drive, obviously wouldn't be able to cycle. It's the same thing. Epileptic, can't probably use any sort of vehicular.
Well, you obviously took this job with a plan in place because
What
you
was
wouldn't have
that
taken this job
plan?
assuming your boss would be able to give you a lift. So
Yeah.
there must be an option there. There must be a
Well,
transportation
no, I
option
feel like
there.
the idea is that Leonard probably walks home, but at night, that was the thing, wasn't it? Didn't they say at night they get lifts home? So
Is there a
perhaps-
colleague, maybe?
Is there someone else who can give you a lift, or someone who can pick you up? Or that really is the thing, isn't it? And it sounds to me a little bit like this person, well, first of all, perhaps shouldn't be in a managerial role because they don't sound very good at it. So for that reason, might also probably be a little bit fragile. These men in these workplaces that think that they can say anything and do anything because they're like the kind of Billy Big Balls are probably a little bit, I don't know, fragile. And if you are to outline that to him, I don't think that's going to go well.
I think you could start sticking up for yourself a little bit. I'd be interested to know what your response was to "you look so fucking tired." I'd be interested to know how you responded to that. Because you could quite reasonably be like, no,
why?
I'm not tired. Why do you think
explain
that?
it. Explain why.
Because that's polite. That's not confrontational. That's
Yeah.
just... You could start to make little, like, just actually not just taking it, actually responding.
I think there's a trick you can play where you make your boss examine what they're doing without outwardly saying. There's a very clever thing that someone, I read once, I don't know if it was in a video or I don't know where it was, but someone was in the workplace and a boss or a colleague made an inappropriate sexual joke about them to them. And the person who was writing this said, you know what I did? And this is something that everyone should do. I turned around and said, what was that? And made them repeat it and then asked them why it was funny. So said, but why did you say that though? But what did you mean? But why though? And you constantly ask them why they've said that. Where's the humour in that?
I'm not sure that will work in this situation.
They quickly become very, very uncomfortable because they realise, actually, oh my God, why am I explaining like I made a really sexist joke? But if they were to say, why do I look tired?
I think that's
you're going to force his hand to say, oh, well, because you've got something under your eye, bags under your eyes or something. And then be like, but why would you say that? You know what I mean?
I'd be interested to know how many people are on your staff, because you've only described your manager and you're a receptionist. I'd be interested to know if you have colleagues, if there's other people that this manager manages. Do you have colleagues at work?
Is there a co-worker you can
Because what you don't want to do is make this the opposite and make yourself a bit of a target, because actually you're the one person that challenged him that one time, and he's always going to have a chip on his shoulder about you.
Joke.
I find it in the jobs that I've had, it actually does really pay to be teacher's pet with your manager to a certain point. It really pays to make them feel like you're different to the others. Actually, you've got a different relationship. Like they can confide in you, and they can actually slag off your colleagues to you. Like it has its benefits being quite chummy with your managers, but you don't want to cross the line in this way. I think this doesn't sound like it's mutually beneficial.
It sounds a little bit. Now, I'm just... I don't know if you'd allow me to pontificate here for a second. It sounds like perhaps Leonard is female, is that right?
Yes.
And the boss is male.
Yes.
Working in a stadium. I wonder if it's a very heavily male environment.
Maybe.
And Leonard feels a bit out on a limb because there isn't anyone who they can confide in. Is there someone in HR maybe you can have a quiet, anonymous little word with? It sounds like you need to have a bit more support because you're just out on your own. But the first thing certainly is find some other way of getting home.
That's the first. That's the first thing. I think that you need to pack that in, because that's always whatever is always going to be. He's doing you this favor.
He
so
thinks
the least
you've
you can do
opened
is
this door.
Yeah.
And that and now it's open season, and he'll say anything he wants to you because you're real chummy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Perhaps it is just worth trying to kind of slowly, if you make yourself more aloof from him. I just think that outwardly saying, like, I don't really appreciate, you're my boss.
That's a bad idea.
I think he would take that. It sounds to me like he's kind of a fragile person. He would take it badly.
I agree.
And then he would make your life hell.
But
if he realises it on his own, maybe he will kind of back off. If you are kind of a bit more aloof, you stop taking the lifts, and every once in a while just be like, oh, that's a bit off. What have you said that for? It doesn't have to be a huge, big political Norma Jean get up and make a statement, but just here and there just being like, all right, well, you don't look fucking $1 million today either, so what are we doing there then?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just something like that, probably.
I would say be gentle. I know it sounds awful and you shouldn't have to
You
be,
shouldn't
but
have
I would
to
be gentle.
Think of them like a giraffe.
Oh.
Be gentle around them. Because some men can be so precious. Oh, fragile. Oh, what? And the rest.
You do not want this to become the opposite.
Because he could get real petty.
Yeah.
And your life will be even worse. Dreadful. But I don't know. Maybe, when was this sent in? Do you know? It's recent.
This would have been a few months ago.
Recent. I don't know. Maybe the situation has alleviated itself now. Fingers and toes for you. And just all the best, Leonard, on that one. Have you ever had a boss or someone at work who became too chummy with you? I've had a co-worker, not a boss.
I've always worked in big, there's been lots of staff. I've had lots of colleagues. So it's difficult for a boss to kind of be inappropriate or too chummy with you, because there's so many other people working there at the same time, or they'll also have a manager or an assistant manager. But there have been a couple of manager-esque people that I remember all of my colleagues saying their monsters are horrible, that I've deliberately gone out of my way to get on side. And that really, really helped me. That's got me raises in the past. It's got me promotions.
You're so crafty. Do you know that?
But it's a really positive thing if you can to get them on side.
You are so crafty, underhand, thief in the night style.
It just makes it easy. If everyone else has got this, I mean,
it's shit.
Working is shit anyway, especially in the cafes and stuff that I've been in. It's not. It can be a really stressful job. So if you can alleviate one thing and make it easier for yourself,
you might as well. Sometimes. Well, certainly when I worked with people who it was their first job, they were 16, 17. They just didn't do themselves any favours, a lot of them. They kind of make it harder on themselves, because there's certain sort of behaviours and stuff you can do to get people on side. And you had the foresight to do that.
Yeah.
Very sexy. sexy behaviour. But I don't think I've ever had a boss who I've been... I mean, there have been, like I went round... We used to go round my old boss's house for drinks, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
Super camp. A couple of them, actually. There were a couple of them. But no one who was sort of... don't want that. But that probably just highlights that we're not women.
I did have a boss once. It was a woman who we were closing once together, and I can't remember the exact words, but basically was doing a lot of asking me about being gay and a lot of dim stereotypical questions.
Oh, what's it got to do with you?
And it was so do you like shopping? You'd be a rubbish gay if you didn't like shopping, and all of this, and almost and that was a little bit.
I would have put in a word with HR. I would have been like, this woman is a fucking
It was
donut.
innocent. It was just ignorant, and I can't remember what I said, but she learned pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's real bad. Yeah. Oh God, it's tricky, isn't it?
It is a bit sweaty bumhole.
It's sweaty
awkward,
bumhole.
Tricky. Yeah.
And that is before you even consider being a woman in the workplace, especially if your boss is a man and is obviously being a bit weird.
I'm sorry that we're not able to offer more advice. Hopefully, something in this is useful. Hopefully, it might have just got your brain working in a certain way, maybe got you thinking about things in a different way. I don't know. We have every sympathy.
Well, no, but I think that's what I like that you twigged the lift thing immediately was the kind of draw a line under that. So that was that. I think we're pretty sage in saying that, Sedge. But I think that's what I would do. Try and be a bit aloof.
Yeah,
because it's not confrontational. It's the opposite. In fact, you're withdrawing from that individual. And therefore, it might just force them to think about what they're actually doing and saying. But the best of luck to you on that one. And I hope he sort of stops being a fucking weirdo. Why are people so weird?
It's so unfortunate. He sounds like he started up being a nice guy, and now he's made it weird.
And now he's made it weird.
Yeah.
You're fucking knackered. You look knackered today.
Oh.
That's workplace harassment, is it? This is a workplace.
This is
our workplace.
Place of work.
How do we go about if there's sexual harassment in our workplace?
Well, how we go about making that happen?
How making it happen? Who's to say?
Turn that camera off.
Turn it off. I'm going to get HR on the phone. What do I do? Pick it up and then you're on the other end of the line. We've got a problem. Do you want to move on to the next, Leonard?
All right. Okay, number 3.
Number 3. This is our next Leonard. Welcome, Leonard.
Dear aunties, I need your help. I work in a supermarket that may or may not sound like the word giggle, and have worked there for almost 3 years.
Lidl.
Well, yes.
Are we allowed to say that? I actually couldn't think then. All right.
Worked there for almost 3 years. The first half of my time there was lovely, got on with everyone, and it was an amazing place to work. However, since I transferred to a new store that is closer to my house, I have had the deputy manager from hell.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's the worst.
I was warned about her before I started working with her, but I always give people the benefit of the doubt and like to make my own judgment of people. Anyways, a couple of months working with her, everything was fine and dandy. Then suddenly, it felt like I was being targeted for things that I hadn't done. I've been pulled into the office and been shouted at. And by shouted at, I mean in the most literal terms. She then twists the truth when talking to the store manager about what has happened to make her look like butter wouldn't melt. I've spoken to my senior manager about her and again wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and give her time to improve, but it only seems to last 2 minutes and then it's like I'm her punching bag again. The senior manager seems to have this love for her that she can do no wrong, to the point where multiple members of staff have left, naming her as one of the reasons, and I know many more staff are looking for new jobs because of her. I need your advice. Should I quit my job and find another one, even though I know I would probably enjoy my work if it wasn't for her? Try to ignore her as much as possible, or put her in her place and tell her how she makes people feel? Yours in need, big on quality, little on price.
Oh, thank you for writing in, Leonard. I think that, first of all, why
Leonard.
did Leonard transfer?
Closer to home. This new one's closer to home.
Okay. I would love to know how much closer. I guess Lidls can be fairly close together, but you've got to assume it would be a substantial amount. Is it
Probably
not worth...
walking.
Is it? I guess you probably considered. The first thing I would think about is it not a possibility to just transfer back to the other one?
I would.
Oh, here we go.
First of all,
Don't do what Nova would do.
keep a diary. Every single time there's a little dig, every single time there is something that goes on, you're just like, well, that's bullshit. That's targeting me. That's a lie. That was uncalled for. Write it down. Write it down, date, time, and describe what it was. Keep a diary. If you get to a point where you're like, this is actually quite a lot, I think you need to go to your senior manager again with this evidence and be like, if this continues, I'm going to leave. I will quit. And I know for a fact that a lot of other people, if you can get someone else on side with you, another member of staff, even better, be like, I know for a fact that other people, this is not just myself. You can even have in your diary if other people are affected by this. If there's group situations, be like, me and other people were shouted at or whatever. And then I know it's so easy to say, like, or quit your job, because jobs are hard to come by, but like, this is not worth it. Like, you need to find something else if that doesn't happen.
The only potential issue with Nova's plan, which usually I would say absolutely, is that it sounds to me like if people leave all the time, then threatening to leave is not going to do anything, because they'll be like, all right, bye, we'll get someone else. Because you know what you do hear all the time is that Lidl is sick to work for.
Yeah.
Not only is the wage supposed to be real good, but people just generally say that working for Lidl is sick. So
You know what you
can
could do?
believe it.
Depending on how much of a fuss you want to make, you could get on the phone to Citizens Advice, and you don't actually have to do any of this, but you could find out where you stand legally in terms of a little workplace tribunal for bullying, for harassment. And if you can get all the language, the actual, what you could do, you could threaten with that to be like, if this doesn't work, if this isn't sorted out, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
It really depends on how much kind of effort you want to put in, how much sort of mental space you want to just like reserve for this. Because this is the kind of person who probably didn't, I don't know, I'm going to pontificate Nova, probably didn't have,
I don't know what that means.
You know, just come out with some really grand shit that's also really wise. I'm suggesting is the kind of person who, and this also goes for some customers, and you'll know who I'm talking about, didn't necessarily have a great time in school, maybe wasn't that popular, maybe isn't really that hot shit at anything, so loves and thrives on having that kind of authority. It's just, it isn't much, but they'll take it and they will run with it and they'll fucking be like the king of the kingdom. And they just really get their kicks on shitting on other people. Customers would do that. There would be one, you get one every day. They'd come in when I worked for Clark's Shoes and they would throw their weight around. They would berate these teenagers. They would make them cry. I want this. I'm entitled to this. Consumer rights, blah, blah, blah. They'd go from one shop to the next, making people cry, make people feel shit just because they loved the power that it kind of gave them, because they are so unsatisfied with their own lives. They're so insecure, right? That's where they get their kicks from. And I used to say to the staff, there was this one girl, bless her, and she was the sweetest, she was cute as a button, and she was really hard worker, and she did absolutely nothing wrong, and this woman told her she was useless, shouldn't have a job, shouldn't be in public, awful. And this girl was reduced to tears, and I was like, you're going to go home tonight and you will never think of that woman again. You're never going to remember her because she will never remember you. She's done this from shop to shop to shop. And that kind of person is not worth your kind of mental anguish at all, because the only reason they're doing it is to make themselves feel better. So this woman sounds exactly like that to me. She will treat you like a punching bag because she's an insecure piece of shit. So you are well within your rights to be like, I'm actually going to phone Citizens Advice. I'm going to be, start a diary. I'm going to go to whoever and I'm going to make this woman eat shit. If you have the energy and the kind of will to do that. I personally would just be like, you know what? Fuck that in the ass. I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest thing.
It's certainly the easiest thing. I wouldn't be that bothered. That kind of person's never mind to me.
May I fathom a guess that this person is actually shit at their job?
Probably not very good.
Because this happens a lot, and it's an overcompensation for the fact that they're not actually very good at their job. They're not actually very good at managing people. And so they think being in a position of power, being a manager, is just shouting at people and telling them off. When actually that's just poor management.
That ain't going to work.
So what you could do, in addition or instead of the things that I mentioned with this diary, is actually play them at their own game and write down every time they do something wrong, every time they fuck something up, every time you notice them making a mistake, and take that to your senior manager and just be like, you know that we've had trouble with this person for these reasons before, but can I just add that actually they got this timesheet wrong, they stocked this wrong, they did this wrong. You can say, like, this person's actually being a problem for our team and our staff. Why are they in this position?
Yeah, the problem is, though, if the woman above her or is somewhere in the line...
You need to lay it out in a way that doesn't matter how friendly they are, they can't ignore it.
They can't deny it.
That's what I'm saying. If you have it in writing, factual...
Some people just find a way, though, don't they? You could do a Mr. G and just sort of leave a small poo in aisle 4 and then just say it was her.
If you're at the point where you're considering leaving anyway, you've got nothing to lose.
That would be my thing. I think if I was here, what I would do is go. It's not worth it every day having that fight and that battle over something.
It's
over
not
nothing.
worth it.
Over nothing. Because someone wants to act up like she's fucking queen. Like, piss off. It's so annoying to me. I would leave if I could, and it sounds like you possibly can. Line something up first, see if you can take that chance. But then, yeah, if you're going anyway, then maybe go out in a bit of glory and just tell someone, go to the woman above her, outline it, and say she is
You could
terrible.
write a letter to your area manager.
The area manager might be better.
And say,
This
the
person
reason
left.
I worked in this job from these dates, and I really enjoyed it. The reason that I left was because despite my best efforts to communicate with my senior manager, and you can say everything that you've done, this was never fixed, and I left. And I'd just like to let you know that this person is a fucking problem.
She's a fucking problem, and she couldn't manage a fart in a paper bag. That's what I would say. And see what goes from there.
That would trickle down. Whether it does anything or not, that would trickle down, because these people are scared of the area managers. Mm-hmm. They are.
Yeah. And just, I don't know, I feel like apart from the actual actions that you may want to put into place, because you've got options, I think, here. A lot of what we've said so far is kind of like, this is probably what you should do. That's what I should do. This one, you have a few options. I think you're in a very good position. But just know that if this is giving you any kind of mental anguish, then nip that in the bud, because it's not worth it. Don't allow someone like that to take away from your serenity. Fuck off with that.
Absolutely, you should not be just staying, grinning and bearing it. And I wouldn't tell her face to face either, because that's not going to work. That's going to blow up in your face and be bad for you.
Awful.
I think quickest, easiest thing, if you are in the position to do so, is to leave.
I think it speaks very well of you, though, Leonard. Good for you that you were told she was a nightmare and you gave her the benefit of the doubt, though. That's very nice.
Because this is the thing, though. Like, some people will just bitch and moan about somebody they had an argument with, and if you're not in that drama, if you're not in that argument, you can get on with them just fine.
I moved between stores once, and I was warned of a woman who was tricky, she was moody, she was not nice to work with, she will not be nice to you, she will never smile. She was the person that I ended up looking forward to the most, because I thought she was great.
Yeah.
So just because one person doesn't get on with them. So I think, you sound like you've got your head on your shoulders, give people the benefit of the doubt, very, very nice. And unfortunately, this person's taken advantage of your kindness and generosity. So fuck that, fuck them up the ass. Don't literally do that. That's a whole other thing.
Right.
Lovely. Thanks for writing in, Leonard. Have we got one more, Leonard?
We've got one more, yes. This was outrageous.
Oh my god.
It's short and sweet, this one.
Oh, very good. A bit like Megan.
Hi, Buttes.
Hello.
I, 29 female, got beyond drunk at a staff party 3 years ago and spent the night at my boss's house and did the bad thing. At a staff party a year ago, we kissed, but that was it on that occasion. My male 50 boss is unattractive, has a questionable personality, and is 21 years older than me. He's not my type, and due to our friendship/office chats, I'm fully aware I am not his. We share an office alone and our desks are opposite each other. Given the lack of attraction, why at least once a week do I have the urge to crawl under his desk and Mongolian throat sing my way through the rest of the shift? And how can I stop wanting to jump my boss?
Leonard!
Kind regards, Glennis. For anonymity, they've given us Glennis.
Leonard, thank you for
Not
writing
Glennet.
in. I suck him off,
So
Leonard. I'd suck
it
him
was a fling 3 years ago, little kiss a year ago.
Let's just break down the simple shit here. Glennis is 20-something.
29.
And the boss is 50.
50.
Okay. Glennis is a
They
lady.
have no chemistry ordinarily. They seem to... Glennis is not attracted to her boss. The boss claims he's not attracted to her. But there is an animalistic urge there
Glennis,
that they can't explain.
I would suck him off. I just do it. Just do it.
I do think
What do you think about that?
you should explore that. I feel
Nova,
like...
don't say that.
I think...
Is he married?
That's not mentioned.
Glennis, you left that part out, didn't you? Naughty Glennis.
There's obviously something there. If you've got together once and then you had a little bit of a smooch more recently, there's something there.
There's nothing there.
Do you not think?
I think that you have slept with your boss.
And you think that's hot?
You are in an office with one other person, and the one other person is someone you've slept with. So every time you look at them, you think of that interaction. Perhaps your job isn't the most exciting thing in the world. And often at work, I think you get a bit horny because it's like naughty, because it's the opposite thing of what you're supposed to be doing, right? It's the least professional thing in the world. So that's why occasionally you'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be great to just like go to the store cupboard and just like, help. So I think
Don't do that.
If you get randy at work, what are you supposed to do? You're in an office with one person, and it's someone that you had a drunken thing with. But the fact that you have means that there is the potential for it to happen again. But if you passed them in the street and you hadn't, you probably wouldn't look at them twice. So I don't think you really care about them or necessarily want to. I think
But
you're just
I wonder
horny.
if the sex was really good.
I think you're just horny. And you know what the thing is? I don't know if we should say out loud.
What?
He probably does exactly the same thing that she's doing.
Yeah.
He probably looks over and just keeps thinking, Glennis looks tidy today.
So the thing with this is, would a little fucky fuck relationship on the side upset like the workplace? Would that upset your professional relationship? Would that make things shit for your job, basically? Because if that's the case, then just behave yourself. If you don't think it would really make a difference, I think, like, I don't know, when it's next appropriate, maybe make a pass.
Get on the phone to HR.
And just fucking see. And if it's not, it's not. If it is, it is. It's happened like more than once now. So
get on the line to HR while you're in the office and he's sitting across from you and say, "Oh, hi, Barb. Is that Barb in HR? Hi. What is the company policy?" And then slowly look up at him and say, on a quick afternoon fucky fuck with the boss, and stare at him while you say it.
Do not do this at work.
But
don't
plug in the phone.
Work.
Don't really plug in the phone. Just leave the phone unhooked. And then say it. Be like, what's the sort of company policy on a quick little Mongolian throat song under the desk with the boss?
I just think it's funny how you've said, like, he's unattractive, and I'm clearly not his type either. Like, he's not that unattractive.
Are you a very sexual person, Glennis? Perhaps you're just very horny all the time and you need an outlet for it.
There's something about this man that you can't put your finger on. She
can put her finger in it.
I think so long as it's not going to jeopardize your job and so long as it's not going to fuck up workplace relationships, I think, like, just see what that's about.
I don't. Honestly, this is real. This one has got me feeling a bit flustered. I think we're about to have a meeting on it with HR on the books.
I'd like to know if the shag was good. Because you don't say. I'd like to know if it was
the
good.
second time that they got together
Just
and they
a
just
little
made
kiss,
out?
yeah.
But were they hammered then as well?
It was a staff party, so potentially.
You can assume that they were.
Because something's stuck in your brain, and it might be nothing. But I don't know. If this is going to be, like, some of the best sex of your life, why deny yourself?
I used to sleep with this one dude when I was at university, and he was really not very attractive. He'll never know who I'm talking about because I slept with a lot of people.
Right.
He was not attractive at all, but he lived in the building, and there were not many gays in that building. Also, he will know then.
We can edit some of
No,
this
no, no.
out.
He won't have any idea. I don't even remember his name. He wasn't that attractive, but he was there. Like, he was there. Which, what is the point of that? Sometimes when you're horny
Yeah.
and someone's available,
Yeah.
one person. Glenys has the one boss.
But this was 3 years ago, and we're still thinking about it.
How does he greet you in the morning? Like, hey,
3
pussy
years
lips.
ago.
What?
I just think like there's why has there not been anybody that's come along to like distract
Okay,
you?
so let's say though, for example, if Glenys is like, I'm not doing this again, it's inappropriate and it will jeopardize my job, like it's just not going to work.
Okay, so what advice are we going to give if she wants to stop this?
Stop it. She needs a sexual outlet to nip that in the bud. Does she take a small battery operated device in her purse and then
Just
she
has
nips
a
off
little
to the
wank
bathroom?
during lunch.
Nips off to the bathroom. Because that could sort that situation out. I mean, I don't know. Because
I'd
once
be
you...
interested to know what your sex life is like anyway.
Normally, maybe you're going through a dry spell.
Are you particularly frustrated?
Because you
or-
can't be telling us that you think about sucking off your boss every day you go in.
Yeah, I would
think
like more information.
Glenys-
There's some variables here that I'd like to...
Okay, we'd
No.
like to know, Glenys. So the first staff party, she was drunk.
Yeah.
That was a drunk
Yeah.
hamp. Was the second one also drunk? Probably.
Probably.
I'd like to know, though. I'd like to know for sure.
But the fact that they ended up together again...
Do you have his number? I'm assuming yes, because he's your boss. So after the shag and subsequent kiss, was there any texting?
Yeah, like how
What was that communication?
was your relationship afterwards? Are there any
Just
hints?
Show me the end of the message, because it strikes me that Glenys wants to stop doing it. No,
It says, how can I stop wanting to jump my boss?
you want to jump your boss because you're horny and he's the only person there, and when you see him, you can imagine his penis because you know what it looks
Has a
like.
questionable personality.
So that's even worse. You don't even like him. He's just some old dag with a shit personality. Get a bullet, Glenys. Buy a bullet. That's my best advice. What do you think? Get a bullet? Do you know, we did a Secret Santa once.
Right, where is this going?
Me and the girls. This was back when I was in Croydon. It was the group of girls, and they invited me into it, which was a big deal.
Right.
Big deal, because it was all the girls. They had known each other, and I was new, and I was a boy, so it was a bit like...
You were the
know,
Damien.
I was the Damien. So I was invited into the Secret Santa, and I got this one girl, and I wasn't always the nicest too. I made fun of her a lot. I made fun of a lot of people.
Just not very nice.
It wasn't nice.
No.
And, you know, people, they were gifting each other the most beautiful things. Just beautiful, fine things. And I got her a bullet.
Right.
I was not invited into the Secret Santa again.
You thought it was like
Hysterical.
jokey, haha,
Yeah,
and they
she
were
was
all being very like,
nice.
This is the thing that I saw you look at in the store when we went shopping.
Exactly. And I
know
got her
you
a bullet
wanted it.
because I thought that was hysterical. In my defense, out of 8 girls, why I ended up with that one, because she was an ex as well, in quotes, ex. That's why we dated when we were like 12. But why they gave me her, because all I did was rinse her.
Okay.
But I got her a bullet. Now,
Where is she going?
she claimed, I will never use that, how disgusting. Cut to a few years later, you know that thing was like a nub. So they obviously work, in my mind. And I think that's what Glenys needs to do.
I think your options are, my immediate thing is, don't be ashamed about having sexual attraction to somebody who's not
your type.
attractive
No.
or your type. But then also, if we're being adults and this is actually something that's like a no-go zone, like totally understand, I'm not encouraging you to go do something stupid. If this is inappropriate, you need to get laid.
I wonder...
Like, what's going on?
There will be jobs, of course there will be, where it's like, you cannot sleep with people in the office.
Yeah,
There must
there are
be...
some that have those rules. No
I
workplace
imagine
relationships.
Nowadays, that's more common than it used to be, that
Possibly.
you're not allowed them. That's something else I'd like to know, because I'm sure in the fine print somewhere, because obviously, you know, when I worked in that store, it was not that big a deal. Like, we weren't saving lives. It was just a shoe shop. So there were relationships all over the place. But I do seem to remember that you weren't supposed to that there was something in place, and you just turned a blind eye because it was like, who cares? Like, who cares?
But I feel like what's
like,
happening?
is that allowed?
What's happening in your sex life?
Are you allowed to sleep with him? I think you're just horny.
Are you allowed?
Well, I don't know if he's the boss. Could you get him? Could you sleep with him? Tell someone, he gets fired, and you become the boss.
Don't know if that's how that works.
She said he's not a nice person. Did she say that? I don't know if
she
she
said
did.
he's got a questionable personality, which I also feel like, what does that mean?
What does that mean, Glenys? This, to me, Glenys, is not a full report.
We've not got all the information we need to offer
Do you know,
solid advice.
If this is how you submit reports in your office, Glenys, I wouldn't worry about it because you'll get the sack soon anyway. Because that is a short... That's not enough information. It's not a full report.
Maybe.
We want another one on our desk by Monday, Glenys, if you can stop.
Maybe. I don't know what your job is or what your work is, but just keep them in the back of your mind. Put them on the back burner. And if and when you ever come to leave this job, see if you still think about him. Because then you could revisit that once you leave the job.
I used to have a crush on a guy who worked in the stockroom. I used to think he's nice to look at. And in a environment where there were some absolute zeros, there weren't much to look at, I used to think this guy was so handsome. And I said it to someone once. I was just like, the guy in the store, I think he's really cute. And the way she looked at me, she was like, you are out of your tree.
You've got
now,
work goggles on.
When I think about it, I'm like, that was a bit weird, wasn't it? But something happens to you when you go to work. You become someone
it's like
slightly
a different world,
different.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you do step into someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
It's a work version of you.
Yeah.
Where you don't think quite the same. It's like, I don't know. So I think there's a lot to be said for when you're at work. Sometimes you think about what's like a naughty thing I can do on company time. That's exciting, isn't it? Take an extra 5 minutes. I'm going to go for a dump on company time. Whose donut's that? That's mine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things coming into play. And Nova's suggesting that you sleep with him.
Well,
You did say that.
suggesting that you maybe make a pass or like just pursue it a little bit, but only if it's not going to lose you your job. But I also think it'd be more interesting to see if and when you do leave this job, if you still think of him, because then you'll know if it was just literally like the dynamic of him being the boss that actually you're really into.
Well, it started as a bad joke in Kansas City Homicide. They said, this one likes to skin his hips. I think on that note, Leonard,
we need to get you laid, and maybe a little role play, office, workplace.
This is getting more ridiculous as it goes on.
What you're into.
That's what Nova's suggesting is there doesn't need to be a role play because they're literally in those roles.
No, like with someone else. She like starts like dating.
Imagine if Glenys has a partner.
Really into.
We don't know Glenys's marital status. Glenys, this report is half-assed. See, I think we're going to put out a bit of a PSA here. If you'd like to write in, then please give us as much detail as possible. And I'm suggesting just get a bullet and get some work. Get some fucking work done, Glenys. Stop thinking about cock and get some work done. What's the matter with you? Horny cow she is. Thank you, Glenys. We love you. We hope that you... Can you please follow up? This was a few months ago, was it? Can you please follow up?
I don't think this was that long ago.
This is a more recent one.
Yeah, this is the more recent
Please
one.
follow up and let us know what happened in that office because we're all dying to know if you rooted him under the desk.
Yeah, I'd really like a follow-up on that.
Do you think Glenys prepares for it every day, thinking it's going to happen?
This might be the day.
Today might be the day. Oh, July 20th.
It's
today.
a little bit Bridget Jones, isn't it?
It's a bit Bridget Jones. Maybe you should send him an email and say, shut up, please. I'm very busy and important. And he says something like, okay, no problem. P.S. Love your tits in that tub. Maybe that's something fun. No, because there's a record of it.
Is Skirt on holiday?
Yeah, and she's like mortified. She's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Is Skirt on holiday? Is that what it was? Is Skirt off sick? That was it. I think that was it. I just need to know, Glenys. Can you DM us about this? Because I'm dying to know if you've humped him.
Okay.
Or if you left or, please write in. I'd like to thank the 4 Leonards there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some great stuff in that. I wonder if we gave any advice, really.
I feel like
Started
we
out strong, ended
gave
badly.
better advice for relationships than we did with
Work.
this one.
Well,
Because
work.
this isn't a real job, is it? We don't know what we're talking about.
First of all, don't sell yourself short. I'll do it for you. Workplace scenarios are a lot more, I actually think, more complex than relationships are.
There's
because
more variables involved.
There's legal involved.
Yeah.
There's, what the fuck do you do?
We do not take any legal responsibility for any actions any of you take on the back of our advice given in this podcast.
Especially
be sensible.
Glenys.
Be sensible. We're having a laugh. We're having a joke. But be sensible. Don't be stupid.
Be cautious.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the bottom line on that. That was absolute agony. If they would like to write in with any advice, by the way, it doesn't have to be workplace. It can be about your neighbours. It can be about family. It can be about relationships, whatever. If you would like us to kind of answer or give you some advice, then how can they do that, Nova?
If you send an email to novympia@gmail.com with the subject header, absolute agony, give us a pseudonym if you would like. And
chances are you'll be a Leonard.
Quite possibly, yes. The next episode of this, we are now releasing this podcast every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday.
Yes.
I don't know how long this first run is going to be, but I am quite enjoying this process.
We'll have to see how long we get good submissions that we can talk about.
How long the network will give us for the first season before maybe there's a small hiatus just on the pod. But let us know if you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, then leave us a comment down below. If you're, new to this whole experience, then perhaps you would, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. You can find us on Twitch, etc. It's all under Novympia.
Yes, our social media will be listed probably in the description wherever this is. But
that's right.
YouTube is like our base. You can find everything on YouTube.
That's our home, isn't it? I hope you've enjoyed it, though, regardless of all that guff at the end. Thank you for coming. Thanks for listening. I loved it. I loved that one.
Yeah, some of these are
Where
very
do we think
fun.
we're going to go next? I wonder if there can be like a family one.
So I've got a couple of categories in mind for the future.
Oh, go on.
So I've got non-romantic relationships like friendships.
Friends, okay.
I've
Crap
got
neighbours.
education and studying.
Ooh, that's niche,
And
isn't
then
it?
I'm collecting just a group of like miscellaneous
Pets. My parrot is an asshole. Okay. My asshole is a parrot. That's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much for coming. And until the next one, Nova.
Yeah, bye.
Oh, yep.
What? And a huge shout out to our newest patrons, Georgie Powell, Sergeant Tatertot 666, Jay the Gamer, and William Mayle.
Yeah.
Okay, should we pose for a thumbnail?
How did we do it last time then? Just get rid of these?
Have these in the middle, and then if we can be on the side, and then I can Photoshop it.
Join the Patron, we'll do a shot of Patron.